Hello. Thank you for joining on this live today. I'm just getting us ready to for our different platforms. So why don't we get started? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this live session on the HBS application for the new cycle. I will be covering, as usual, a few slides on the topics related to the HBS application, and welcome as many questions through any one of the platforms that you're joining. This way, I will be able to answer questions live. So we are on Instagram Live as well. So if you're joining from that platform, please write your questions. I'll try to get to them as I go through the presentation. And if you miss that session, you can always come to our YouTube channel and watch the replay. So just a little bit of housekeeping. I will be hosting a special event on Tuesday where I will interview a executive recruiter who works with to fill essentially C-suite roles. This individual is going to answer questions about what it takes to get to that C-suite level, what employers are looking for. So if that's something that you are interested in and you see that to be part of your future and you want to make sure that you're planning out what are components that you need to be mindful of, then I strongly encourage you to register for that event. The description, or rather the short link is on the screen, but you can also go to our website, cadmission.com/event-calendar, and look at those, register for the event there. We'll notify you beforehand, and also we'll send you a replay of the event in case you miss it. So definitely register for that, and you can write your questions in the registration to make sure that we answer those questions in the live, even if you're not able to attend in that session. Beyond that, next week, our usual Thursday event is going to be focused on GSB, so Stanford's Graduate School of Business. So if you are considering Stanford as one of your target institutions to apply for the new round, I encourage you to join us in that live. And again, you can go to our website to register or just use the link that shows up on the screen. Excellent. So the other element that I wanted to just bring up is if you are going through this application process and you do need support, want to talk about your profile and how a coach like myself can support you on that journey, I invite you to schedule a one-on-one conversation with me. We'll discuss your profile, we'll discuss probabilities, we'll discuss, of course, areas for development, and then also ways that I can support you on this journey. If that's something you are interested in, I invite you to schedule a free consultation going to our website, cadmissions.com/complimentary-consultation. So with that, why don't I'm just checking our lives as well. And why don't we get started and talk about the HBS application. So we'll start with the slides. And at any point, if you have any questions, please write the questions in a comment. I will not be sharing your name on the screen, so it won't be there when the replays are happening. So feel free to write your question down so that we can, so that I can help answer as many of those. So we're going to cover today the class profile at HBS. We're going to talk about their evaluation criteria and how you need to start mapping out your HBS application to make sure that you have a strong presentation of your candidacy so that you maximize output. Then we have the official Q&A at the end. But again, along the way, please ask your questions. So this way we can most effectively support this community. So the acceptances went down. The class size also went down from the previous year. So this is for class of 2025. The GPA actually went up by 0.03 points, and the GMAT also went up by 10 points as far as the classic edition of the GMAT. The GRE stayed the same. This is, again, not to say that you need to be at 740 to get into HBS. It is just to say that this is what the class profile looks like now. I would encourage anyone that's going and considering, obviously you want a competitive score, but I strongly discourage you to be fixated on the GMAT or the GRE because HBS does look at a candidate's profile holistically, as do other schools, so long as, of course, you have a competitive profile in relation to the rest of your application. Obviously, if you have a low GPA, then yes, you do need a strong GMAT, but all things considering, considering your GMAT or the GRE should not be the only thing you focus on in this application, because of course it's not going to be something that is going to be the determining factor of you getting into the business school. We have a consistent women representation on campus, international applicants as well, and of course you have a higher concentration in the Americas than the rest of the world as far as where the applicants are coming from, which is, you know, normal, I would say. So what are the evaluation criteria? How does HBS look at a candidate? It's really important to remember that they actually say this on their website. So this is nothing new here in terms of what they're looking for. So they're looking for individuals who demonstrate, who have habits of leadership. I say this often, and it's true for HBS as is for other schools. This does not mean that you need to have a quote unquote leadership title in your resume. What they're looking for is individuals who show leadership in the variety of different roles that you have. This is in your extracurricular, in your community service, obviously in the projects that you work on at your job. It's really about how you show up. And this is really important in terms of putting together a successful application in terms of how you present your experiences. If your title is not very clear, but even if it is clearly a leadership title, you do want to still communicate how you show up as a leader, because that's what HBS is looking for. The HBS experience is very immersive. You have group discussions, you have active class participation. These are all expectations. And then you also obviously will need to be speaking publicly. Your communication style, whether it's written or verbal, meaning in your application or in an interview, it does need to be very strong in terms of what HBS is looking for. So I see a question in our live on Instagram. Just want to take a moment to pause there. The question is, if one has a 3.53 GPA from NYU Stern and a 160 verbal and 168 quant for GRE, should one retake the GRE? I don't think you need to retake. The quant is more important. I would focus the rest of this time that you have on your application itself. So, so that's excellent scores, excellent academic performance. So focus on this time period to really reflect on what HBS looks for and make sure that that's communicated in your application. So the next piece of the character that they're looking for is analytic aptitude and appetite. When you think about the classroom experience at HBS, the entire 2 years there, you will be going through case after case, right? So like I said, you have the public speaking, in the classroom, the group discussions. Obviously, you're reading a lot of cases, 500 by the time you're done, and you're going to have this active class participation. You need to be someone who can demonstrate that you are really enjoy that kind of environment, that you are someone who enjoys lively discussions, who is really present in every place that you are a part of. That could be showcased in your letters of recommendation. It could be showcased in the way you talk about your engagements, right? And also, of course, the kinds of work that you have done is going to be important to be successful in converting an application to an admission at HBS. And then the last criteria is an engaged community citizenship. And what that means is that you are going to be someone who cares about the community that you are part of, right? So that means obviously in your job, how you show up, how you teach others, how you learn from others. This can show up in your letters of recommendation again, in the way you talk about your experiences in your resume, but also in the way you talk about what moves you in your essays, but even your goals. Why is it that you're doing what it is that you want to do? Or why are you on this journey to do what you want to do? So these criteria, it's really important that they're not just check boxes that they're ticking off as you're evaluating your application and looking at it in one particular area. Rather, this is woven throughout your entire HBS application. And it's important, and I'll repeat this a few times in this presentation, it's really important to remember that your application at HBS, or your HBS application, does need to be something where you look at each one of the pieces of the application requirements, presentation, answer questions, short answer questions, essays, as opportunities to demonstrate everywhere the criteria that they're looking for, right? So it's not I'm going to place this in one area versus another. So how do you approach to showcase these characteristics, right? This is the most challenging part of the HBS application. They are looking for you to be able to showcase this so that they can invite you to interview. Interviews are not guaranteed. So you do need to make sure that your presentation does capture what it is that they are looking for. So the best way to do this is to reflect. And this is one of the reasons why the HBS application is so taxing in terms of the workload that it requires to put together a strong application. Every single piece of the application of HBS, and also for other schools, but we're talking today about HBS, is purposefully there, right? One of the pet peeves that I have reading as a coach, and I'm sure admission teams, they do talk about it as well, is when applicants write in the job description that is required in the application portal or responsibilities section of the employment section of the application portal, where candidate writes, "See resume." If they wanted to see the resume and they do ask you for a resume, they will have that information, but you've chosen to include something in the resume, but you also have space to add more, to add different layer of your experiences in the application portal. So look at your application as different, as purposefully created in the way it was created, the questions being there purposefully to get to know you and get to know what it is that you can bring to the HBS classroom. And everything should have a reason, and it should be additive to building this, mosaic of you as a candidate. Really important to keep that in mind as you're putting this application together. So what you should be doing now in terms of reflection is looking at who you want to present to the admission team, in your HBS application, and where is that presentation going to come through, where you're going to be able to present yourself in the most effective way. So how are you going to present yourself in your resume? How are you going to present yourself in your essays? How are you going to present yourself in the short answer questions? How is the recommender going to be presenting you? And it's important to be able to step back and reflect. One element that it's very critical for the HBS application in particular is that they really want individuals who are authentic in their application and authentic in the way you describe yourself. You don't need to be over polished in terms of, coming across very generic. They are looking for your character in your application. So it's important to be able to do that through reflection. So at any point, if you read any component of your application where you can ask yourself the question of, can this describe someone else? Well, then you need a little bit more reflection. You need a little bit more work on that piece of the application at HBS, because they are looking for differences. They're looking for differentiating factors that make you unique. So show them that reflection in your application. What's also very important is that you are presenting you in the application and not, someone else. So that can be also reflected in your resume. That can be also reflected in the letters of recommendation, in your goals, and we'll talk more about goals. And every piece of the application, right? It's really important that you are presenting yourself. And when I say that the application at HBS is taxing, it is because it requires so much reflection to be authentically you and to be able to communicate that in the certain amount of words that they give you, and in an effective way, so that when they read it, they're excited to invite you to interview. And then when you have the interview, you're able to show them your public speaking skills and your ability to think on your feet, so that you can have a successful conversion afterwards. So what are the application components? So you have the education and test scores. Of course, you have your GMAT, GRE, your transcript, academic performance, those kinds of details that you're including in your application portal. Then you have the personal information. So this is your background, your parents, your, those kinds of data points and short descriptions. You have activities that you've been involved in, awards that you have received. So you have a section to include all of those details. You don't have to have awards, but if you have them, you absolutely want to talk about them. You want to incorporate your professional experiences. Obviously, you have space for 3 in the HBS application. And then, of course, your resume as well. Make sure that your resume is a PDF. This is true for every school. PDF download, make sure that there is nothing that shouldn't be there showing up on that PDF document, and make sure you're uploading the right PDF document. Letters of recommendation, of course, goals, and the main essay. For this session, I'm going to focus on the last 3, just because we only have 30 minutes. And if the community wants more HBS discussions, then write in the comments that you would like more HBS discussions and what would you like to cover. So this way, I can, we can create more events in relation to what you guys want to see. So let's talk a bit about letters of recommendation. So they require 2 letters of recommendation, and they follow the GMAT common letter recommendation questions. It's really important that your HBS LORs are always keeping in mind the elements, the characteristics that HBS is looking for. So first and foremost, make sure that those letters of recommendation are authentic. They can't describe any person. They're really authentic to you, your experiences, your contributions, and that the recommenders are people that are really vouching for you and wants to see you succeed, that they incorporate examples with specific details in each of the examples that they include. Give your recommenders as much time as possible, as much instructions as possible, so that they can write those authentic letters of recommendation that will entice the admission team to invite you to interview, and then, of course, offer of admission. The next piece, let's talk about goals. There's a very short section in the application portal to talk about goals. It's about 500 characters, and they want to know where you believe you want to go after HBS, as well as long-term. This is not to say that you can't change your mind down the line in terms of what you experience and how that influences your professional career. However, in an MBA program, whether at HBS or any place else, at least in the top 20, you should be specific as to why it is that you are choosing to go to that particular school, why it is that you're choosing to have those particular goals, and what's the kind of impact you're looking to make. In this 500 characters, not 500 words, 500 characters with spacing, you are also talking about your aspirations. So that aspiration of what it is that you're looking to impact, as well as why HBS is the right place for you to do that. So if you think about just how much you have to include in 500 characters, it's a lot, which means you have to be very purposeful. They're also looking for authenticity here. Reflection is something that HBS uses all the time in terms of how it is that they coach you, how it is that they talk about what they're looking for in an applicant. They are not looking for a generic application. They want authentic goals in terms of how your experiences influence your aspirations and why it is that you want to pursue an HBS degree, or why you need an HBS degree to be able to get to where you want to go and have the impact that you're looking to have. So really important to set time aside to reflect on your goals, to reflect on your experiences, so reflect on the past so that you can start looking towards the future, especially if you haven't done anything related to your goals. Excellent. Okay, there's the questions on Insta. Should resume truly be one page, or can it be two since they allow for 2 pages? No, the resume should be one page unless you have over 10 years of work experience. So you must consolidate it into 1 page. Remember that you do have in the application portal space to speak about up to 3 employment experiences, but you also have a place to talk about your activities, so like extracurriculars, awards, and other minutia details where you can incorporate some of the elements that you may have included in the resume, but because you have to think of your application as a mosaic, you may want to spread those out and place them in different sections of the application. So a 1-page resume, that's the rule of thumb, 1-page resume for 10 years, for anything less than 10 years of work experience since college. We want more HBS discussions. Yes, what would you like to hear? Write in the comments. This way we can have more sessions, especially once the essays are confirmed for this application cycle. Excellent. Awesome. So I think I may have skipped ahead. Okay, so yes, the goals are, we talked about the goals, so let's move on to the essays. Sorry, there's one essay. This is a notoriously popular HBS essay. It's open-ended in terms of what you can talk about. And the question is, as we review your application, what more would you like us to know as we consider your candidacy for the Harvard Business School MBA program? I have underlined the very key word that is important to keep in mind. And it's in alignment with what I've been talking about this entire time. And that is what more. If you think about what I was sharing in terms of every component of the application is there purposefully, you recognize then that the essay is saying to you, We understand that you've already shared quite a bit of information on your background and your story and your experiences and your professional successes and extracurricular successes. What else do you want us to know? What else do you want us to know? What more do you want us to know is where you have to focus your essay. So essays where applicants have a recap, sort of like a walk me through a resume kind of experience, are not successful at HBS. Essays that are generic are not successful at HBS. This is an opportunity to really talk about, first and foremost, is you, and share the formative experiences and how do those formative experiences influence how you show up on a day-to-day basis, or how you've showed up in particular experiences that you've had later on. I've seen some essays where applicants talk about how their parents or grandparents have influenced them, and the essay ends up being about them and not the applicant. Whoever you choose to be a protagonist of your HBS essay, the essay needs to be focused on the main character, and you are the main character of the HBS application and HBS essay. So it's really important to keep that in mind and use that as a filter in terms of how you choose to tell the stories, right? Because this is, again, your perspective of your experiences, and how has the angle with which you look at your experiences influenced the way you have showed up in later years, or even now in your environment, and whatever that environment looks like for you. So just checking to see if there's any questions. Excellent. All right. So write your questions. If you want more clarification on this part, if you have additional questions that are different than what I just talked about, please write them in the comments. Okay, so key takeaways for the HBS, or key tips for the HBS essay is so the essay, particularly because this is the one element that most applicants struggle with, or the most challenging aspect of the HBS application is the HBS essay. And remember that the essay is additive. It's not a different presentation of the same things you've already shared, right? Keep that in mind when you choose your stories, when you choose what it is that you want to share with HBS. Those three characteristics that HBS is looking for needs to be woven into your HBS application as well as your HBS essay. So place those characteristics that HBS is looking for everywhere when you are writing your HBS application. It's really important to be reminded and always ask, how is whatever it is I'm sharing showcasing this character that HBS is looking for? The essay is about you, as I mentioned, not someone else, not your boss, not your parents, not your grandparents, not your sister, your brother, whoever it is that you choose, girlfriend, whoever it is that you choose to talk about. It's really about you. Right? So it's you in relation to the community that you are a part of. Those formative experiences are really important, right? And we all have our formative experiences. So this is the reflection, the digging deeper into your past to be able to demonstrate, who you are in an authentic way to the HBS admission committee. Make sure that your essays follow the 3 C's. It's compelling. It's very interesting to read, that what it is that you share with them can't be said for someone else, right? It's uniquely yours. It's clear. So the language is clear. There's no confusion. Ask people to read it. If you're working with a coach, obviously the coach is going to help you through that process, and make sure that it's concise. This is not about fluffy language. It's not about fluff of any kind. It's really about using words purposefully in how you share your experiences, what it is that you want to communicate, and the angle in which you are communicating it. So that brings us to the end of the slides. I know we have like 1 minute left, and want to take this opportunity to answer any questions. As you type your questions, just as a reminder, if you want to have a conversation with me, I encourage you to reach out, schedule a consultation. I'm going to place the call link on the screen. And also, next week, I will be interviewing executive recruiter Ify Walker, who is going to talk about what it takes to get to a CEO role. I invite you to register for that event. I'm sure the community that watches my videos is very ambitious and is looking to make sure that they're paving the path for that version of a C-suite role that you are aspiring towards. And that can be something that you can come and learn about what it takes to get there, and then make sure that your plans, wherever you are on your journey, incorporate the skills that you need in order to get there. So let me stop sharing screen, and let's look at some questions. What are some common pitfalls in the essay for example, being too specific about work experience? Really, the pitfall is to make it sort of like a walk me through your resume kind of essay in terms of like work experience is concerned. This is, even if you choose to talk about work experiences, talk about it in the unique way that you have worked around. So, for example, if you are working on, so if you have had some formative experiences that influence the way you see community and the way you see people's voices being heard, then you talk about that formative experience and weave then how you show up because of the formative experience you've had, as opposed to just talking about, you know, I worked on this deal. Like, that's not something that's very interesting because they can see that on your resume. Excellent. Awesome. So I think we are out of time at this point, but I would love to have you guys join our community. So if you are on our Instagram or any of the other platforms, definitely subscribe to our channel, follow us, and on YouTube, also subscribe to our channel to be notified for our future events. Next week, our regular Thursday sessions are going to focus on the GSB, so Stanford's Graduate School of Business application, and I'm really excited to talk about that one as well. So if you are looking to apply to GSB, definitely register for that event as well. So thank you again for watching, and I look forward to our next week's few sessions that I have in the various different platforms. Have a good one, and we'll talk soon. Bye.